Nanda Godana Rato Govinda Madhava Navanita Dasana Govinda Madhava Navanita Dasana Nanda Gopala Namuna Tattva Bhakti Vatanara Namuna Tattva Bhakti Vatanara Raja Singhi Gomo Hey, Raja Singhi Gomo Hey, oh, dear Adam Baba, Vindavan and Madhukara. Dear Adam Baba, Vindavan and Madhukara. Oh, dear Adam Baba, Vindavan and Madhukara. Bhakti Oh, Maharaj, Navanita, Sakara, Amuna Tattva, Bhakti Vatanara, Niradu Bala, Vijayanam Tattva, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Jai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Umgyan Timirandasya Gira Jana Savakaya Chaksu Unmilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Pastyatya De Satarine Panchakalpa Tarubhishya Kripa Sindhu Pevacha Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare. So in the early afternoon program, we began the third verse of the Upadeshamrita. First verse describes the 6 urges that the conditioned souls have to control and direct in the service of the Lord. Pushings of the mind, the urge to speak, the principle of anger, and the pushings of the tongue, belly, and genitals. One who can do that completely has the qualification of accepting disciples all over the world. But for the execution of devotional service, it is fundamental that these pushings, urges, natural feelings of expression and activity are directed towards Krishna, not towards one's personal aggrandizement or sense gratification. The second verse, we talked about the 6 activities which destroy or cripple one's progress in devotional service. Atyahara, eating too much, collecting too much, prayasa, over endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to achieve, prajalpa, various types of ways by one can speak that is considered to be in the category of useless talks. We covered about 7 to 8 different categories of prajalpa. And then niyamagraha, niyamagraha, niyamagraha is to practice the process of devotional service in a mechanical way and not know why one is performing the activity. And the other one is to reject the activities of devotional service, or the rules and regulations, I should say, of devotional service, and acting independently and whimsically. And then the next one is jhana sangha, is to accept the association of those who are adverse to devotional service. And the last one is layam, greed. And then the verse that we began, today is the third verse. Verses 2 and 3 are so important that if you know, at least have a working knowledge of these 6, you know what to avoid and what to accept in your execution of devotional service. So the 6 principles which are favorable: enthusiasm, confidence or determination, patience, acting according to rules and regulations, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smarnam, abandoning the association of non-devotees, and Saruvritti means following the processes given by the acharyas. So we spoke about enthusiasm as being the life of bhakti, and determination as being the principle by which one overcomes obstacles and impediments, reverses in devotional service. Patience, the importance of executing the process without any desire for fruit of result. And now we will speak about Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smarnam. I'll begin by reading something from. No, I won't begin by reading something. So Rupa Goswami explains in the Nectar of Devotion, as we had mentioned earlier when we began the seminar, this Nectar of Instructions is a summary of the essence of bhakti, which is given in Rupa Goswami's Upadesh Amrita, is Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Nectar of Devotion. And he's condensed the same knowledge into 11 verses. And he takes you all the way from the essence all the way to the conclusion of devotional service in these 11 verses. Here, Tat Tat Karma Pravartana means that there are 64 rules and regulations by which it is enunciated that we follow these 64 in order to make progress. 39 of them are with things that we accept, and the remainder 25 is the things we avoid. So that's mentioned, and the first one is Adal Guru Vastakam, which means to accept the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master and work under his guidance, ask relevant questions, how to make continued progress in devotional service. This is the first principle of the 64 items Rupa Goswami. That is foremost, that one has to work under the guidance of Krishna's representatives in order to successfully execute. Tat Tat Karma Vavartanam also includes the 5 main activities of devotional service as explained by Lord Chaitanya to Srila Rupa Goswami when he gave him that knowledge for 10 days at a place called Allahabad or Prayag in India. And for 10 days, Rupa Goswami took note of everything that Lord Chaitanya, and then he wrote these 2 treatises. And these 5 potent forms of devotional service are very essential. One is chanting the holy names of the Lord. 2 is regularly hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. 3 is worshiping the Lord in his deity form. 4 is association of Vaishnavas. And 5 is to live in a holy place, or a place where Krishna performs his pastimes. These 5 forms are called the 5 potent forms of devotional service. And it says, even a new person who comes to Krishna consciousness, in other words, one who is just beginning Krishna consciousness, can get benefit from these 5. They can also experience ecstatic symptoms, even though they're considered to be just neophytes or novices in devotional service. Is there something wrong? I think the volume keeps fluctuating. But that's okay. Now it's up again. So when it goes down, we can talk louder. Following the rules and regulations. What is the purpose of following the rules and regulations? Now it went down again. Following rules and regulations means to accept those activities that get us off the bodily platform. If we still are acting on the bodily platform, the process of devotional service is very, very slow. Tadiya, Tulsi, literature that substantiates devotional service, holy places, devotees, all relevant verses that indicate bhakti are all part of the knowledge that is needed for the execution of devotional service. Savai pumsam paro dharmo, yato bhakti ahoksaje, hoituki priyata, yatma suprasidati. So here, Srimad Bhagavatam, spoken by Sutta Goswami, explains that the process of devotional service must be executed. Ahoituki priyata. Now you might say that's pretty tough. Haituki priyata means uninterrupted and without material motivation. And then one can get the benefit of bhakti. The soul, by nature, is inclined to serve Krishna continuously. But in the association of the material energy, the soul becomes covered by another energy which is foreign to its nature and accepts that coverings as its reality. So we have two natures. We have what is called conditional nature and constitutional nature. Conditioned nature is our association with matter from time immemorial. We've been in this material world for, they say, millions of lives. It's not your first birth. And we've been through many species of life even before coming to the human form of life. Once we accept the human form of life, then the process of devotional service is available. And that makes solution to all problems. And this conditioned nature is very long-term, and sometimes it's called nitya vada. Nitya means eternal, and vada means condition. So it is not actually correct. The term nitya vada seems to give a wrong understanding of the conditioned soul, that we are eternally conditioned. But why is it used that definition or terminology to describe a living entity in the material world? Because of our association with matter is so long term that we cannot trace it out. It's impossible. So in that continual association with the three modes of material nature, we develop a certain consciousness that compounds itself life after life after life. Because death means the end of the physical body, and the subtle body, consisting of the mind, the intelligence, and the false ego, takes the soul to another material body, and we begin again another life with a new set of parents and a whole different material situation. And so this goes on, Mayadavase Kachu Bese, Kachu Haburu Duais, life after life after life. So this conditioned nature is so strong that it seems to be the reality of our existence. Our constitutional nature, which is spiritual, which is our eternal loving relationship with the Lord, seems to take a back seat and seem to be almost non-existent. So in order to get back to our actual position of pure spiritual energy and the activities that accompany that, which is devotional service to the Lord, the process of bhakti is meant to cut through all of these layers of conditioning and awaken that natural attraction for Krishna. And natural nitya siddha Krishna prema, saruka bunoi, Sravanadi Siddhi Chitte, Koriye Udoy. Every living being has love for Krishna. Even those in other bodies lower than the human form, they also have love, but they can't access that natural love. But only in the human form of life, and only in the advanced human form of life, because there are 800,000 forms of human life throughout the existence. Only those who are advanced can actually take advantage of this process of. So to come to devotional service is, as Nectar of Devotion for Swami says, extremely rare. Not rare, but very rare. So one who comes to devotional service is the most fortunate person. One who traverses the path of devotional service is even more fortunate. And one who perfects devotional service is the ultimate principle of good fortune. Because even those who take up devotional service, not many do not finish. They quit at one time or they get stuck and find themselves either going back to material life or somehow or other evolving in human forms of life without making any further tangible progress. So the process of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smartam, or as it's translated, hearing and chanting and remembering the glories of the Lord's Supreme Personality's pastimes. And this is the essence, and this is not only the essence, but the most joyful part of the essence. It's sweet to hear about Krishna, to chant the glories of the Lord, to remember these glories, and to continue in this process. And when one does that, it takes some effort to get to the point where we actually have a tendency to want to hear more and more and more. The conditioned nature of the condition for the soul somehow other limits one's taste for hearing and chanting. But Prabhupada uses the example that a person who has jaundice, and that's a disease of the liver, then they give them sugarcane juice for curing jaundice. It sounds like a very nice medicine, but when you have jaundice, sugarcane juice tastes bitter because of the disease makes the taste of the sugarcane taste bitter. But it doesn't change the taste of the sugarcane juice. It is actually sweet, but the person can't taste the sweetness. But if they continue taking the sugarcane juice regularly under the guidance of a physician, gradually the sweetness starts to appear again in the taste. And gradually one actually feels very happy. Taking the sugarcane juice is very sweet. Thank you. Somebody knows what they're doing. So I guess he was tasting the sugarcane juice. Thank you. And so this Krishna works, Krishna consciousness like that. We may not have a taste or an attraction for hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord, but that's the formula for both getting rid of the disease of material existence and at the same time bringing one to the consciousness of pure spiritual soul. And therefore we continue to hear and chant the glories of the Lord. And as we continue that way, then the sweetness will start to manifest more and more. So whether you're attracted or not attracted, that attraction will automatically come if you stay in the process of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smarnam, like that. It works. As the Bhagavatam says, Satam Prasangam Mama Virya Samvido Bhavanti Ritkarna Rasayana Kata. So Rasayana means sweet, nectar. Kata means those words that are just like sugarcane juice, so sweet that when they enter into the ear, the ear becomes so joyful, and then that sound vibration transfers into the heart, and the heart becomes happy. So if we continue to hear the glories of the Lord, which are all attractive, Krishna's name is all attractive, therefore his pastimes, his qualities, his names, his forms are by nature all attractive. But the process is to continue in that way to awaken that. And when we do that regularly, then we understand that yes, this is becomes nice. That sweetness starts to develop. And then one will not look towards material, mundane subject matters anymore, and will be eager to hear and chant the glories of the Lord, especially his pastimes in Sri Vrindavan, which is the essence of what we say. What's the word? Amrita, Amrita Kata, that nectar. So that's the fourth principle, and one of probably the most important one of the first three: enthusiasm, confidence or determination, and patience, refer to a certain attitude. In other words, a certain mood by which one adopts in order to execute bhakti. These last three, beginning with this one, is the activities of devotional service, hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. And the next one is Sangatyaga, renouncing unfavorable association. And there's two types of association that are considered to be unfavorable. Association with those who are materially inclined, and the association of the opposite sex other than within marriage. These are considered to be unfavorable association. And these lead to certain types of attachments which bring about certain prejudice and certain assets. Non-devotees don't want to serve the Lord, or even if they know about the Lord, they consider the Lord to be someone that they get some material benefit from. They're not interested in their relationship with the Lord, they're interested in getting something from the Lord. That is considered to be a category of those non-devotees. Non-devotees are classified as jnanis, who want to be free from material suffering, but don't worship the Lord. The karmis, who are interested in enjoying their senses, the mind, the intelligence, and the senses in different ways. The yogis, who want to manipulate the material energy to get some material power through that manipulation. And those who engage with the association with the opposite sex simply for sense enjoyment. These are considered to be categories of non-devotees. And then we have also, and these things are long-term. They're also part of our conditioned nature. And so we develop an attraction for these things simply naturally due to our association from life after life after life. And it's not what we say normal to somehow just give them up easily. They fall away slowly because of our continual association with that matter. We have to remember that conditioned nature is more like a disease. And when you first recognize the disease, you apply the medicine. But the disease is sometimes long-term and doesn't go away simply by the first application of the medicine. It takes time. So Srila Prabhupada would say bhakti simply means practice. Practice. If you follow the rules and regulations that govern the proper way to practice, then you can make progress. In the Brahma Samhita, towards the end of the Brahma Samhita, Krishna speaks to Lord Brahma. After Brahma glorifies the Lord by chanting the beautiful verses in glorification of the Lord. And the Lord says that he said that the path of devotional service is successfully traversed by three things. One, perseverance and practice, following scriptural injunctions, and Vaishnava behavior. Proper behavior in relationship to the execution of the guidance given by scripture, and perseverance in practice. We spoke about that this morning when we talked about what is that quality that makes Krishna consciousness easy. And without that quality, Krishna consciousness is difficult. And that is perseverance, or sometimes we use the word determination. If you're determined, it becomes easy. If you're not, it's difficult. So for one person, it's easy, and for another person, it's difficult. And to get determination or perseverance requires to associate with devotees and to gradually give up the attachment to the ephemeral activities of this material. In other words, to stop trying to enjoy materially. If we continue to try to enjoy materially and practice bhakti, we're mixing two things that don't mix. Even if we have desires to enjoy in this world, that's not a disqualification. The disqualification comes when we try to fulfill the desires. We may have those desires, but we should push them aside, and gradually they will leave us in due course of time as we intensify our practice of devotional service. But if every time we stop to fulfill our desires for material happiness or material success, we gradually weaken the process of our advancement. And if we do that continuously, after some time, we lose the attraction for Krishna. It comes. Because Maya is there. What is Maya? Maya means mercy. Maya means illusion. Maya means so many things. So what is Maya? Maya means that which looks like something but is something else. In other words, it presents itself as sources of happiness and success, but it can't give you that. Just like you might see a flashing billboard with all kinds of wonderful designs and statements on it, but actually all it is lights flashing. That's all. You watch a movie and you get emotionally attached to the movie, and all it is a bunch of pictures rolling one slide after another. So there's nothing there but just some slides moving, which has a particular sequence. So you see people, even they get into the movie and they get so attracted to the movie that they get emotionally attached to whatever's happening in the movie. But it's just a movie. So when the movie's over, then all of a sudden, then you're back to where you were before. So yeah, so this material world is like a black and white movie. That's a rerun. The rerun is each birth we get stuck on the same channel, trying to enjoy the senses more and more. Everyone's trying to enjoy the senses, the mind, the intelligence, and nobody's happy. If people were happy, the world would be everything would be nice in this world. But there's so many problems. Why? Because people don't know how to become happy. They think happiness is to connect the senses with the sense objects. But happiness is to awaken that knowledge and that relationship with Krishna that is intrinsic to the soul's existence. It sits in your heart. Your happiness is within you. Just like a deer will sometimes become attracted to the smell of musk and get very excited, but that musk is coming from his own body. He doesn't know that. the smell of the musk is very attractive to the deer, but it's that deer is getting attracted to the musk, which is part of his own body, and he's looking for that smell, that outside, but it's coming from him inside. So happiness is within you. Yes, happiness is within you, and then the process of bhakti is to bring it out, to make you aware of that, to bring it to the forefront of your consciousness, and to bring it to the forefront of your activities also. So association with non-devotees sort of puts a damper on us, because the value system is completely something we're trying to give up. When you're trying to give up something and you are still associating with what you're trying to give up, then you will also be drawn back into that same type of the same type of activity. So one should carefully avoid the association of non-devotees. We spoke about that in detail in relationship to the previous verse, how affection for is the principle of association. We should develop association with devotees and develop affection for devotees and fulfill that need for association. Because everyone needs association. You see Krishna, he even needs association. He feels lost without Radharani. He's always with his cows, his cowherd boys, the gopis. You hardly ever, anybody who draws a picture of Krishna alone doesn't know anything about Krishna. Krishna is always with his devotees. That's how he is understood. And that's how he's worshipped also. He's always worshipped. He's never worshipped alone. He's always worshipped in relationship or along with his devotees. So this principle of association is fundamental to happiness and existence. There's a type of disease, I don't know why I'm thinking about this, but anyway, I am. There's a type of disease, I don't know the name of it, it has a name, it's a very technical name, where there's people who hate other people. There's one person I know, she's a storekeeper not too far from Gita Nagari, and she doesn't like people. She admits it, I don't like anybody. But she's miserable. Doesn't mean she's happy just because of that. So that's a real sickness. Is it paranoia? No, that might be a symptom of the disease, but it has a very clinical name. I can't remember the name. One devotee was telling me. He teases her every time he sees her. He says, "Hey, you don't like me, do you?" He's a kind of provocative type of person. So, but still she has a job as a shopkeeper, which means deals with people all the time. So that is a real, what we say, deep form of a malady. Huh? Misanthropy. Yeah, that's it. Can you say it slower? Misanthropy. Misanthropy. What? Can you read the definition of it? Important by misanthropes might prefer to avoid others, functional relationship. For instance, a person who hates almost everyone in the world, but still have a normal relationship with parents or a small. Still have normal relationships with parents and children. Very few people. Very few people, but they hate everybody else. Hare Krishna. Hare Rama. So yeah, that's really a misanthropy. Misanthropy. Yeah. All right, so, but devotees don't hate the non-devotees. They just don't find any benefit in that type of association. Because the devotees see within the heart, or even of the non-devotees, that Krishna is there. But for their progress in life, they associate with and serve devotees. And they find happiness in them. And you can't meet anybody nicer than a devotee. A devotee will do anything for you. You can ask a devotee, will you help me with this? You do something. Devotee says, thank you for asking. Devotees like to help others. They enjoy it. They even help the non-devotees also at times. So, but the non-devotees, when they help each other, they also have some motivation to gain something from that. But devotees enjoy doing things for others simply to help the other person. They like to serve others. It gives them happiness, it gives them fulfillment, and it awakens many, many. That's why devotees are friendly to everyone, because they have no enemies. Okay, so that's one. And then the last one is sadhu vritti. Sadhu vritti is, there are two kinds of sadhus, the renunciates and the householders. So householders is also put in the category of sadhus. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Grihastha Paramahansa. He calls the Grihasthas Paramahansas. Those who live with family and wife, but are fully executing devotional service. They are also in the category of renunciates. And there's rules, regulations, restrictions, and activities for both of these categories that are slightly different. The rules for householders in execution of their devotional service is different for those who are sannyasis or brahmacharis. Like that. There are many, many verses. Let me see. Mm-hmm. Okay, didn't cover that one so much. But yeah. So yeah, there is a whole Bhakti in Bhakta Loka by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He gives a whole listing of what are the rules, regulations, and requirements for those to execute devotional service in the Grihastha ashram. And he also includes a list of those verses and ways by which the ashram of brahmachari and sannyasi should act also, like that. Just like for those in brahmachari and griha and sannyas, they're not allowed, or they're restricted from talking about worldly things. The grihastas have to talk about worldly things in order to somehow or other live and go carry on their thing. But then that should also be limited to what is necessary, like that. So that's an example of rules and regulations that are different for the different ashrams. Okay, so any comments or questions on these six, which includes the three we didn't get a chance to do any discussions on the first three. So these are the six. Yes, Krishna Kumar. Welcome home. He say, welcome home, brother.
Just a quick clarification on what you said about Maya. Maybe I heard it right or not. Is it Maya means mercy?
Yeah. Maya's, Prabhupada also explains that. He says, Maya is working to help you become more Krishna conscious by putting in front of you opportunities for you to take advantage of material life as a way to somehow or other overcome that. In other words, just like before you can get your PhD, you have to pass the examination. And many of the tests or the questions on the examination are difficult. So Maya will challenge you to show you where you are still attached so you can recognize it and give it up. But if we don't recognize it, then we sometimes we be pulled into that. So Maya means mercy. Yeah. She's your friend. Maya is not our enemy. The enemy is the demons. Prabhupada also said that. He said, Maya is our friend, but because there are demons in the world, Maya has to serve the demons. Therefore, there's so much difficulties in the world. And that's explained, and then there's two classes of people, a devasura. The devas, godly persons, and the demons, those who work for the destruction of the world and simply exploit material nature for their own selfish interests. These are called asuras. And that's a class of people also. They're born on certain planets, and sometimes they enter into the atmosphere of the Earth planet. Especially right now, there's a lot of demons around. Prabhupada said that in 1972. He said the demons in this world are increasing more and more, and they will continue to give you trouble. They take positions of power in society and just exploit material nature and squeeze the natural resources out of this earth and exploit people for whatever they can gain. They don't care. Prabhupada said the demons will do anything. They'll kill their own parents. They don't care. They'll do anything just to fulfill their selfish and lusty desires. But Prabhupada said, don't worry. Prahlad Maharaj was harassed by his demoniac father, but Krishna saved him. Devaki was harassed by Kamsa in so many ways. She was also saved by the Lord. So if you regularly chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, associate with devotees, you'll be protected from the demoniac influence which is in the world, which is very strong. But those of you who associate with worldly activities, you have to be careful not to get drawn into these plans of the demons for being exploited. Yeah. And today's society is really, really saturated with this type of mood of exploitation. So, but devotees, that's why Prabhupada said, build your own communities, live separately from the demons, create a microcosm of Krishna consciousness in this macrocosm of material existence, and depend on nature, live simply, and work together harmoniously to practice Krishna consciousness. And he says, then the material energy cannot touch you. Like that. So we have one book here, Krishna's Way, Natural Living, a more natural way to extract ourselves from the influence of the demoniac civilization. And it's becoming really, really difficult to live in this world now and to maintain our livelihood in the Grihastha ashram. There's so much challenges for food, for shelter, for basic things we need, which are controlled by the external organizations that are controlled by these demoniac influences. So, therefore, Prabhupada foresaw that, and he also say, here's how you could live. And this is the way that people lived for thousands of years. He said this modern material civilization is an anomaly that has come by the last 350 years. That's all due to the Industrial Revolution, which is taking everything from nature, repackaging it, and selling it back to you. That's all. Food, medicine, clothing, education, everything. The Brahmins in Vedic culture, they would go from house to house speaking to the householders, dealing with the householders, whatever difficulties we have, and they would give free knowledge, astrological advice, and medicinal advice also. That was the occupation of the Brahmins, along with spiritual guidance also. Um, Now we have to buy everything. We have to buy medicine. We have to buy education. We have to buy this. But this all is given by God automatically. And real education is Brahma Vidya, that knowledge that comes by way of one's understanding of oneself and how to find, even on the material level, how to live in this world free from suffering and difficulties. It's there in the Vedas. Okay, I just wanted to mention that we should be very careful not to allow ourselves to get too much involved with this materialistic society, because it will cause So any comments, questions on these? Yes. Okay. What is your name?
Brahma Das.
Brahma Muhurta?
Das.
Yeah, that's my name also, Das. I think if you talk to the rest of the family here, we all have the same name. But there's a Dasi also. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj. Thank you so much for this wonderful class. My question is regarding the conditional nature and the constitutional nature that you spoke about. So, in normal scenario, as grihasthas, we are working like for 8 hours, 10 hours, and spending time with materialistic people. And we're talking about our constitutional nature, which is Divesh Swarupa Krishna Vidyadas, but spending so much time with outside world, outside people, increases your conditioning day by day because we are spending time with Krishna again, but that is for very limited amount of time. But the amount of energy that we spend with materialistic people is a lot. So how should be our attitude and how should we be able to overcome our conditioning nature and move towards the constitutional nature in spite of such lifestyle that we have?
Well, when Prabhupada started this movement, he explained not only the philosophy and the practice, but the lifestyle that is conducive to devotional service. So he didn't want us to become overly dependent on a material society for their necessities of life. And then he gradually explained how we can move away from that and start to become insular in our developing our own communities. So if you want, Prabhupada's point is pull out of that. So you might think, well, how? I got my job, I got my family, my responsibility. It takes a group of interested people to get together and work and do, and it's happening. Devotees around the world are now starting to move away from the society and getting their own land and starting communities, even smaller, not the bigger ones that are already in progress. And that's the future of our movement. In the meantime, you just have to, what they say, live in that atmosphere and just be careful not to somehow or other accept this type of association in such a way that it drags your consciousness down. So there was a devotee who spent 28 years working in the material society, and then he wrote about it and put into a small little presentation. He gives a formula how you can live in the world, work in the world, but somehow become somewhat less affected by that atmosphere. I can make that available. I have it on my computer. It's how to live in the world and not become worldly. But it's hard because It's unnatural, really, it's unnatural. Birds of a feather flock together. We want to associate with people who are like-minded, and not by just, we have to sacrifice, or we believe we have to sacrifice what we believe in order to gain something that we need in order to live, which is called money. But money is not wealth. Real wealth is precious metals, animals, and land. So get a piece of land and start a community. Why live? Why continue to become dependent on this Western civilization, which is gradually starting to deteriorate? And even the best part of that is already gone. Now people have to. This thing about AI, it's kicking everybody out of work now. AI will take over the world. That's their plan, to have a few people operating these machines, and the machines will do everything. And so one devotee, his brother works as a very high placed person in, I think, General Motors. And so he was talking, he says, well, if you automate, what is it, automize, you make everything like machines, then you have a couple people operating the machines and nobody else is working. What will you do with all those people? And he said, well, there's war. In other words, we'll get rid of the excess population through war. So it's quite demoniac, this whole idea of, so Prabhupada knew that Western civilization would become more and more impossible for us to survive in it. And so he wanted us to use our abilities to develop community. And then it doesn't mean you have to live in a very impoverished state. Just like I was traveling in Germany, and I saw people lived in very nice houses, but around the houses, there was a lot of land, there were cows, there were various agricultural fields. So the houses were nice. People were living in somewhat decent houses. But at the same time, they were working the land, living in a more simplified atmosphere. It's not that you have to build a hut and then live in a hut. Some of us may like that, but most of us still want some kind of material comfort. But if we keep depending on this civilization, we'll find ourselves becoming more and more squeezed just to maintain whatever we have already began. So I'm talking about the ultimate solution. There is the intermediate solution, is to gradually pull back from that and spend more time with devotees and try to use your ability to create an occupation where you don't have to associate with devotees. The lockdown of non-devotees, the lockdown that happened a few years ago, caused people to become self-employed. And that was good in that sense. People were no longer having to go to work, and so they were able to work from home. Sometimes working from home may also be a problem, but still, it's not as bad as having to waste time sitting in an office all day in front of a computer or various types of mechanical. And the whole IT industry in America now is going down fast. They're like laying off people like crazy. So there's a decline in human civilization that's moving fast. And Prabhupada predicted it. He said in 50 years, this whole Western civilization will crumble. You can hear it if you get a copy of that book that I presented. There's a QR code, 4 pages from the back. Scan your phone, you can hear Prabhupada talking about it. It's there on video. And so if we want to continue with that lifestyle and struggle like that, then that's what we'll do. We'll have to struggle, try to balance. We send kids to schools. They learn all kinds of bad habits. They bring them home. And we have to teach them something other than what they're learning in school, and it becomes a problem. I was with one young man. He was telling me in his school, the kids walk into the bathroom. He's 14 years old, and they steal the sinks and toilets. They unscrew them and take them home. Yeah, that happens in your school too? Yeah, yeah, see? Yeah, we got an example here. Yeah, yeah, right there. So the schools are like, like juvenile places of juvenile delinquency.
They took mirrors in our school.
Huh?
In my old school, they took the mirrors.
They take the mirrors. They take everything. This is called modern education. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur says modern education relegates one to an animal. Education comes from the Latin word educare, which means to bring out. Real education is to bring out what is already there within the soul. And that is not Silpa Vidya, but Brahma Vidya. Brahma Vidya. And that is Krishna consciousness. And when you're Krishna conscious, you also know things, how to do things materially also. Doesn't relegate you to some kind of living in the Himalayas in a cave. That's not possible for majority of the population. So yeah, so we can talk about short-term solutions that are more like stopgaps so we don't get so much polluted by it. But ultimate solution is to build our own communities and live separate and depend on nature. Nature has everything. You can live simply if you understand nature, you'll find nature is amazing. Really amazing. It provides everything you need. Even all of the medicines for all of the diseases are found in nature. All you have to do is learn the science. So it's already there. Yeah. So to answer your question, I basically say you somehow or other have to really strengthen your sadhana. So when you're in that environment, you don't get so infected. Strong sadhana will help you to become somewhat less affected by that type of association. If your sadhana is weak, you'll also be more vulnerable to be somewhat subjected to the difficulties that you come by way of that association. And that is, we're trying, the material value system, it's like it says, what is night for the conditioned soul is the time of awakening for the self-realized yogi. And what is night for the self-realized yogi is the time of awakening for the conditioned soul. It's two opposites. But we have to learn to associate with and work with devotees. It becomes wonderful. Because devotee, you can't find a nicer person than a devotee. Because as I said, devotees will do anything to serve others without any desire for profit. Now you have to buy, in the material world, you have to buy everything. Whatever you need is a price of some type of financial price. Everything, you have to pay for everything. And Prabhupada talks about as Kali Yuga progresses, there will be no wheat, no sugar, no milk, no rice. And it'll become more and more difficult. Governments will become top heavy and simply squeeze the citizens for everything they have. I mean, just to get into it, just like in the UK, in the United Kingdom, 45% of a person's gross paycheck goes to taxes. So they only get 55% of what they make. And if they make over 100,000 pounds a year, it's 50%. So even in the United States now they're taking more and more taxes. This tax, that tax, this tax, noise tax. Yeah, in some places it's called, what do they call it? If you drive your car into the city, you have to pay a tax just by driving your car into the city. Because the cities are so congested that to keep people from driving into it, they charge you tax if you drive into the city. Yeah, that's in London. That's been going out for years in London. You pay for everything. You pay for everything. And what to speak about the quality of the life we live. The food is polluted, the air is polluted, everything is polluted. The environment's polluted. So, we have to understand this is Kali Yuga, and Kali Yuga means the age of quarrel, destruction, hypocrisy, so many bad qualities. But devotees are protected by Krishna when they take shelter of Krishna. Krishna will protect them, but still, we still have to pull back from becoming dependent on the outside world for our livelihood. That becomes a need after a while. And money, what is it? It's just paper. Mr. Modi, he showed us, right? In 2016, he just pulled back, what was that, the 1,000 note? Yeah, he said, all right, if you got this note, you have to prove that you earned it by paperwork, and if you didn't, then there was you lose it. And people were burning money in the street. I was in India at that time. Yeah, that was 2016 in December, carried into January 2007. And then he did it again last year. He pulled back the 2000 note. I don't know the fallout for that one. But the government can do that anytime. In America, they're not doing that. They're just printing more money. You want some money? Okay, well, we got some here. They print more money, and the value of money is so low that the inflation is so high. The more money you print, the higher the inflation is. You pay what you paid for, like one time is now 200, 300% more for the same thing now. You know that. Everybody knows that living in America. So this is to continue to be affected by all of these changes that come by way of exploitation through various government agencies and social agencies. It's not necessary. There are many communities, especially in India and other places, that are developing and becoming self-sufficient. It can be done. It takes some transition. This is the hard part, is the transition stage from this Western lifestyle. But many of you who are sitting here grew up in India, and you also lived in a very simple environment. Of course, you might say it was a little bit impoverished, but still, it doesn't have to be like that. If you have cows, wow, cows are auspicious. Just having a cow and taking care of the cow, you get good fortune just by taking care of a cow. We were in New Vrindavan. This was many years ago when I was living there, and the community was undergoing many problems. And then they had meetings with some of the leaders in the community to find out how can we deal with all of these problems. And one very intelligent devotee said, all our problems will go away if we just take care of the cows. And so it was accepted. So all the time, energy, and effort, resources were there And we built up the whole cow protection program. And after a while, all the problems were gone. Yes, it's true. I have a friend who's in India now. He's in Mayapur. He does so many things. He said, just because I'm taking care of cows, everything is auspicious. It's a fact. Cows are God's gift to human culture. Look at that. Now we have cars. Well, you have your pet car. You feed it gasoline instead of gasoline. Gasoline. And if you run out of gasoline, then you plug in, and Mr. Elon Musk sells you a car. And then you can exploit the environment by electricity. So Western civilization is dysfunctional. It's really dysfunctional. You solve one problem, you create two more. But life is simple. You need food, you need shelter, you need clothing, you need medicine, some form of education. All of that can be provided by community and by nature's natural arrangement. It's all there. And I guess, I might say you'd be surprised what's going on. There is an exodus, even within the secular society, to pull out of society. And many of the non-devotees are starting to move into a more or less simple lifestyle. They're also feeling the pinch of the Western, what we say, high-tech lifestyle. And it's also dangerous. Dangerous. It's very dangerous. Anyway, Hare Krishna. But we have the solution. We just have to apply what Prabhupada. So the book I wrote has many statements by Prabhupada giving directions on how we can actually develop this, what we say, natural lifestyle. And what I included in the book is about 5% of the statements Prabhupada made on the subject matter. He made hundreds. Just like you can read, if you're looking for some good verses, the first canto, 8th chapter, verse 40, first canto, 10th chapter, verses 4 and 5. Second canto, what verse is that? 9th chapter, I think. There's so many verses in the Bhagavatam that exclusively talks about simple living back to nature and the horrors of Western society. So many verses. But so we can simplify our lifestyle, and that makes Krishna consciousness more available. It's one of the principles of Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada started the movement. He had 7 principles. The 6th principle was to create a lifestyle to bring the devotees together in a more simplified way. That was one of the main principles in establishing this society. So it's natural. Of course, the difficulty is how to transition out of this dependent lifestyle and more into a lifestyle that is dependent on Krishna and nature and not on, Western organized technological and industrial society. And society is going to hell because they're killing cows fast. It says in the what was it? Manu Samhita, that the killing of a cow is equal to killing 2 men. It's more sinful to kill a cow than it is to kill a human being, according to Vaishnava Siddhanta. Because killing of a cow means cutting off your source of success in life. So these things are all there. Any other questions, comments on the verses? Enthusiasm, determination, patience, Shravanam Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Janasanga, Sadhuvritti. Did we cover everything? Okay, thank you. Well, it's just in time for Archie. Should we end here? Okay, thank you very much.